Moving on, it's been 3 days since the military coup in Sudan, and the Sudan residents continue to remain defiant, with protesters taking to the streets, burning barricades. The world condemned the takeover, and in the latest, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, who was arrested on Monday along with other members of his cabinet, was allowed to return to his house, though still under strict security. Sudan's top general defended his action, saying that the military takeover was necessary to avoid civil war. Now, the U.S. State Department said that the Secretary of State Antony Blinken has spoken with the deposed Prime Minister. Blinken reportedly welcomed the Prime Minister's release, reiterated that all civilian leaders must also be freed. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is looking at a full range of economic tools at its disposal to respond to the situation. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Washington has been in close contact with the Gulf countries to monitor the developments. The United States has already halted a $700 million economic aid to Sudan.
We've been in close contact with regional leaders, including in the Gulf, to make sure that we're closely coordinating and sending a clear message to the military in Sudan that they should first and foremost cease any violence against innocent civilians, that they should release those who have been detained, and they should get back on a democratic path.
Meanwhile, civilians organized protests saying that a mass protest against the coup was scheduled for 30th of October. Sudan's Civil Aviation Authority on Tuesday also suspended all the flights to and from Khartoum's international airport until early Saturday. Sudanese airspace, however, remains open to passing flights.
المحرك نفسه براو لأنه ما في إنترنت، ما في تواصل بالهاتف، فما في جهة بتقودنا لتغير لحرية وتغيير لتجمع المهنيين، ما في إنترنت، ما في أي جهة قايدانا حاليا. الشارع قايد نفسه بنفسه براهو، والمتاريس ما هيتشال لأنه بعد حوار البرهان الليلة كان النهاية ما كان مقنع. فإن شاء الله يوم 30 يونيو هنطلع ونشوف.
كان يمكن للخطوة الجاية دي هي مسألة العصيان المدني الشامل، لأنه الآلية العسكرية اللي احنا شفناها في الشارع دي لا يمكن تقاومها إلا من خلال. لحد الآن هي ناجحة بكل المقاييس، دي مسألة يمكن الناس كلها مشاهدة الشوارع فاضية، ما في حراك، ما في دولاب العمل معطل تماما.
There were also reports of Sudan's military firing at protesters. So far, 7 people have been killed and over 140 injured while protesting. UN Chief Antonio Guterres also urged the Security Council to act effectively to prevent frequent coups from occurring. The 15-member body was scheduled to discuss the military takeover in a closed-door meeting. The Security Council, which has the power to impose sanctions or authorize military action, has been split on how to approach various conflicts.
My appeal, obviously, is for especially the big powers to come together for the unity of the Security Council in order to make sure that there is effective deterrence in relation to this epidemic of coup d'etats. And we have seen that effective deterrence today is not in place. We have seen it in Myanmar, and we have also seen it in several African locations.
Meanwhile, shops were shut in both Khartoum and its twin city. Calls for general strike played over mosque loudspeakers, streets and bridges blocked by soldiers or protester barricades. And our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Let's listen in.
The United Nations Security Council held a closed-door emergency session on Tuesday regarding the situation in Sudan at the request of Britain, who is the penholder of Sudan, the United States, and several other European countries. Prior to the meeting, Britain's UN representative Barbara Woodward outright condemned the coup in Sudan. She also said, quote, 2 years ago, the people of Sudan put their lives on the line for democracy. They should not have to do so again. Council members, including Norway, also called for the release of civilian leaders. They also raised concern about the use of violence against peaceful protesters. The special representative for Sudan and head of the United Nations Integrated Transition Assistance Mission in Sudan was expected to address that closed-door meeting as well. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
After Sudan's top general declared a state of emergency and dissolved the parliament, it sparked protests within the country.
The military decided to overthrow the civilian leadership in the country.
Sudan's military seizes power in coup. Soldiers open live fire on protesters. Defiant demonstrators return to the streets.
Phone network are also down.
And American officials have
Watch WION continuous coverage
Protests within the country and condemnations
on Sudan's political crisis.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.